So now I'm looking at the second lesson of the Holy Spirit to have peace, teach peace to learn it. And like the first one, to have, give all to all. This is all inclusive. So I'd like to start. I'm going to do a little bit of reading here because there are a couple passages I'd like to go to. But I just want to do a tiny bit of reading here. Um, And I'm going to start with paragraph 5 and probably go into paragraph 6, the last two paragraphs of this. So, to have peace, teach peace to learn it is pretty much synonymous with to have, give all to all. We're giving the Holy Spirit's perception to all. And that means everyone. That means that even the person that seems to be the victim in a situation where that's the one that you think didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it's not even easy to uh, put into words, but it's like, in a nutshell, extending love to both victim and victimizer, to seeing that they are both the same, because the Holy Spirit's perception sees only love or a call for love, nothing else. And I am not saying this is always easy. I am saying that this is what the Holy Spirit's lessons are. This is the second lesson of the Holy Spirit. And this is what we're learning here when we want to change our mind and see things differently. Am I able to see my brothers as equal? So let's go to paragraph 5. The way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is clearly to choose one and relinquish the other. If you identify with your thought system and you cannot escape this, and if you accept two thought systems which are in complete disagreement, peace of mind is impossible. If you teach both, which you will surely do as long as you accept both, you are teaching conflict and learning it. Yet you do want peace, or you would not have called upon the voice for peace to help you. Its lesson is not insane. The conflict is. So, this idea between the two opposing thought systems, which is the ego thought system or the Holy Spirit thought system, is defined in the course a couple times that I know of as diametrically opposed. They are polar opposites. So the way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is clearly to choose one and relinquish the other. And I like to add the word clearly is a great word, but I like to add the word simply. It's simply to choose one and relinquish the other. I think this is where the course could say, this course is simple, but it's not easy. So it's simple if you think about it. We just change our mind, change your mind, change your mind, change your world. The whole course is about changing your mind. That is the miracle. However, when there's conflict and the ego wants to be right and the ego believes it's right, it's going to go through hell and high water sometimes until it gets sick and tired of being sick and tired, as Alcoholics Anonymous would say. So this is a process. This is, as forgiveness is, this is a process. No one's being asked to um, think all loving thoughts all the time. The Course reminds us that the holy instant does not mean you will never have unpure thoughts, but we are asked not to keep them. So the forgiveness process of looking is perfect for this right here. So we we clearly relinquish one and choose another when we're ready. And what I start to notice is I'll ask myself a question. It's not only would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? The Course also asks us, do you want the problem or do you want the answer? It's the same thing. I want the answer. Do you want the peace or do you want the conflict? So when we get sick enough of being sick, we will change our mind. And it gets easier and easier the more we practice and recognize the cost of sin is death. So the cost of conflict is death, which is the idea that we could be separate from God. And that's what it always comes down to. So, paragraph 6, there can be no conflict between sanity and insanity. Only one is true, and therefore only one is real. The ego tries to persuade you that it is up to you to decide which voice is true. But the Holy Spirit teaches you that truth was created by God, and your decision cannot change it. As you begin to realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your mind that you are trying to undo a decision that was irrevocably made for you. That is why I suggested before that you remind yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you. You are not asked to make insane decisions, although you can think you are. It must, however, be insane to believe that it is up to you to decide what God's creations are. The Holy Spirit perceives the conflict exactly as it is. Therefore, his second lesson is to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. Only truth is true and only one is real. So we can believe our made up stories all we want. If we would rather be right than happy, that is our choice. He tells us that you can persecute yourself as long as you like, but you don't have to. So this is the easier, softer way. And I like to go to a couple places in the course that really talk about peace for me that I think are so helpful. The first one is chapter 7, section 3, where he talks about the reality of the kingdom. And for me, this really hits it on the nail. In paragraph 3, he says, I said before that the ego's friend is not part of you because the ego perceives itself at war and therefore in need of allies. You who are not at war must look for brothers and recognize all whom you see as brothers because only equals are at peace. Because God's equal sons have everything, they cannot compete. Yet if they perceive any of their brothers as anything other than their perfect equals, the idea of competition has entered their minds. Do not underestimate your need to be vigilant against this idea because all your conflicts come from it. It is the belief that conflicting interests are possible, and therefore you have accepted the impossible as true. Is this different from saying you perceive yourself as unreal? So this helps us to demonstrate peace, to teach peace, to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. To have peace, I have to know that I have everything, just like with the first lesson, having and to have, give all to all. Having and being are the same. When I am in my right mind, listening to the Holy Spirit, there's a knowing. There's a knowing. We never left home. We're dreaming of exile. And that knowing is always with us. We just fall asleep at the wheel and we forget. So when he reminds us that only equals are at peace because God's sons have everything, they cannot compete. So if I know that I have everything and I know that my whole my whole thought system of the ego is made up, if I can look at that and actually not take it seriously and not make it real, I can look at your thought system when you sometimes may choose your ego and not make it real. I don't have to make a big deal out of it. I don't have to take it seriously. I can be at peace knowing the truth. When you know the truth of who you are, there's nothing your holiness cannot do because it sees beyond the body. There's nothing to compete about. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to see that is not a reflection of your own thoughts about yourself. And that's also very helpful. That's the golden rule, you know? So do not underestimate your need to be vigilant against this idea because all your conflicts come from it. It is the belief that conflicting interests are possible, and therefore you have accepted the impossible as true, believing the story you tell yourself. They are not your real thoughts. They are images you have made. I am teaching myself. Whenever I teach myself, and to give and to receive are one. So we are both learning here. We are both learning and remembering the truth. Ideas are strengthened when they're shared. So when we believe conflicting interests are possible, we accept the impossible as true. So the question at the end is that different from saying you perceive yourself as unreal? Well, if I'm seeing myself as different from you, I am seeing myself as unreal because I am not seeing the truth. There is nothing real that can be threatened. The truth is that if I am wrong, you are wrong. If I am right, you are right. If I think I'm better, then I must think you're better, you know? So there's no better and worse, right or wrong. And that's where the conflict comes in. And that's where the peace is lost. And I have found myself comparing myself to other people and totally losing my peace, feeling not worthy and totally losing my peace, or feeling better and totally losing my peace because then thinking I have to live up to that idea of being better, which is not true. It's a made up story. But for me, my biggest struggle has been the feeling of unworthiness and working through that. And I've had so many lessons, so many great teachers, not even knowing that they're teaching me. They're teaching me equality. They're teaching me equality just by the acceptance and the love and my initial thought that I felt unworthy or different, and being included in the circle of atonement as an equal reinforced the truth that I am equal. It was only my thoughts that thought I was not. So it's only our thoughts that need healing. And that is accepting the atonement for ourselves. And when my mind is healed, I'm not healed alone. So this also reminds me that when I compare, the lesson that comes to my mind is love and gratitude goes hand in hand, and love makes no comparison. So I always remember, if I'm making comparison, I am not in love. I am not with the Holy Spirit. I am in my wrong mind. There's one more section I want to share, and this will be my close. So, this is such a beautiful closing, and it's reminding us to have peace. We must teach peace, and that is teaching equality, and that is recognizing that there is no difference. There's no differences here in truth, only in form. And the form is nothing unless we make it something. So I'm going to start with the very end of, let's see, I'm going to go to chapter 14, section 5, the circle of atonement, which I could read this whole section and it would be perfect, but it's too long. So I'm only going to read like 1.25 paragraphs. So starting with paragraph 7, starting with sentence 6. The circle of atonement has no end, and you will find ever increasing confidence in your safe inclusion in the circle with everyone you bring within its safety and its perfect peace. Starting with paragraph 8. Peace then be unto everyone who becomes a teacher of peace. For peace is the acknowledgment of perfect purity from which no one is excluded. Within its holy circle is everyone whom God created as his son. Joy is its unifying attribute, with no one left outside to suffer guilt alone. The power of God draws everyone to its safe embrace of love and union. Stand quietly within this circle and attract all tortured minds to join with you in the safety of its peace and holiness. Abide with me within it as a teacher of atonement, not of guilt. Teach peace with me and stand with me on holy ground. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. And we first accept that peace in our minds, and we extend it to everyone and everything. And the beauty of this is that when we remember this perfect peace that's always there, we are less likely to allow anything outside of our minds to upset us. And this is the practice, and this is a beautiful practice. And, you know, that's not to deny anything that is upsetting, because ego still speaks first and loudest, and getting upset and looking and forgiving is very vital. It's necessary. As Ken Wapnick would say, we have to look at what didn't happen. We have to look at, I'm sorry, we must look at what did happen until we can forgive what didn't happen. So it's always that looking first. We don't deny anything here. But once we recognize that we made it up, the secret of salvation, we can be at peace no matter what's happening around us. And this is the way we teach peace. So today, my wish for you is to remember that peace is always with you, because it's my wish for me. And to have peace, we teach peace by extending it to everyone. Have a great day.